Colfax City Council Town Hall meeting of February 12th, 2026 is now in session after a little technical difficulty. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance first. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think that's my third time today. All right. City Clerk, can you take roll call, please?
Thank you. Councilmember Burris? Absent. Councilmember Douglas?
Present.
Councilmember Lohman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg?
Here.
Mayor McCauley?
Present, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a quorum.
All righty. Yeah, we're gonna go over some rules real quick because we've never done this before, and there still are rules that guide what we can and cannot do. So our city manager will run through them real quick for us.
Okay, just to keep the attorney happy. Under description, the city council will receive public input and listen to the community comments on matters of general interest within the city of Colfax jurisdiction. This item is for listening and information gathering purposes only. No action or deliberation. No action will be taken. Council members will not deliberate, debate, or discuss matters with one another during this item. Public comment, members of the public may provide comments in person, remotely, and consistent with the Brown Act requirements.
We all got that? Okay, so we can answer them. We just don't get to discuss amongst ourselves is the short version.
Big discussions with them either.
Wow. All right, but we will start with a public comment, which means they can deviate from our item for the day. So we'll start with public comment. So members of the audience are permitted to address the council on matters of concerns to the public within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council that are not listed on this agenda, right? Wait, did they change that? I'm sorry. This is only listed on the workshop agenda. Can't we do public comment for anything?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you can comment on anything that has to do with our jurisdiction. And then we will get down to our item after that. So free range comment at this point. Either of you like to say anything before we talk about suggestions for this next year? Do you have anything else? You want to do that, or we can do the microphone?
I just am concerned with the traffic through Colfax. Maybe wondering about if there's going to be more roundabouts put in, say like the end of 174 or across from the overpass by that gas station that's been shut down. And then the other thing is I thought you guys should get your raises that you were talking about at that council meeting last time. And the other thing is people drive by 80 and they can see our store and they see our little sign. It's all right, you know, but I don't know if it's a good idea to maybe put something really fancy up there that maybe has our logo, but the word Colfax or something like that, you know, maybe with the railroad thing.
Right. I would encourage you to work with the city planner on a sign design.
I just want to know if it would be like something that I should go ahead and go forward with, because I don't want to like waste anybody's time or anything, but
It won't be a waste of time.
I would like to put something even that's lit up, you know, and then because when you're driving down 80,
Yeah,
I would like to see Colfax.
Yeah,
written there.
let's come in and sit down with the city planner and talk about signs,
Okay.
sign design and thing. We're more than happy to work with you to
'Cause,
move
yeah, we
forward
got
on better
all of it.
signage.
And it's the first thing you know, if you don't see anything right there, you're gonna pass Colfax without even knowing it's here, really. And I think it's just a good opportunity. That's all. Yep.
Okay. Would you like to say anything at this point? You can, so this is the open comment, so it can be on anything. It doesn't have to be specifically for this next year, so. So it can be any part, as long as it pertains to Colfax somehow.
Might kind of just blend in. You have to push and hold. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So I think one of the things that I've heard the most from other folks in town is the issue of a dog park. And if we can figure out a place to put that, that would just benefit local residents that maybe don't have big yards or want to meet other people in town and have it be a third sort of gathering place. And then wondering about the possibility of working with Placer County to put in some electric vehicle chargers in Main Street, and if that would be beneficial in getting more people off of 80 and down to the main drag. So the last two big Colfax events, Placer County has had a booth and they take public opinion about transportation, and I don't know, they ask a few different questions. And the idea of putting electric chargers in Colfax seems to be great. Like, we have an EV and we charge at home, but there's no real good charging stops between Auburn. The next spot up is Dutch Flat and then Cisco. So tons of people coming from Sacramento and the Bay up to Tahoe. There's, unless you're going to Starbucks or McDonald's, we need more ways to get those people down into Main Street. And so I think having electric vehicle chargers down on Main Street could be a good idea.
Thank you. So we did work with Tesla to try and get some downtown, and the AMPM actually got a contract. They're building 10 charger station right behind the AMPM right now. So that's where those are going to go. Yeah. So do you look like you want to
It
say-
doesn't help the Main Street, but there are chargers behind Three Pines restaurant over there by Winter Chevrolet.
Right. And 2 low output chargers over by the train depot. Yeah. We're hoping that we'll get more traffic through there. We're looking at trying to improve road access from Road Avenue back to the roundabout there past the AMPM. So hopefully we'll be able to get those chargers to help bring more people right there and point them downtown.
If I recall, the AMPM filed their permit with Tesla, like right a couple days, I think, before we had done ours.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
kind of lost out by a couple of days because we were looking at trying to get them down here, but
Yep.
They won.
We were in active talks with a representative, and their commercial representative, as opposed to their government representative, the commercial representative got that contract first. So it was too close for him to want to do both.
Back up, work with the EVgo or, the non-Tesla chargers.
Mhm.
That don't accept Tesla chargers. That still would maybe want a fast charge, be able to stop in.
Sorry, we got people online. That makes sense. Yeah.
who was the company that we had over at Roy Tom for a while? Do you remember what company name it was? I was just curious which company it was. Because we used to have them over at Roy Tom, but the company that did it was not following through on their commitments, if I recall, but I don't remember who they were.
I can't remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
I'm sure we can get our SACOG rep to check with SACOG about funding for chargers.
I'll ask next time. That's next Thursday.
That's kind of a hot topic, so they may actually give you a little money.
Yep. Great idea.
Tim, we're at public comment right now for anything, not just what ideas for this next year. So if you have anything broader topics, we have public comment going on right now.
Good timing. Thanks.
Yeah.
And thanks for having this town hall. I think that's very important. And I was hoping there was going to be so many more people coming in here to actually voice their opinion, because we do get so many rumors and misconceptions from the public. And then when something like this happens, nobody shows up. So, hopefully this will draw more people in, and people will become more active of what's going on. So I appreciate what you're doing. When you're talking about the charging systems, I know about the one behind Three Pines, the one behind Arco. There is a old charging system by the train depot, and it's been there for quite a while. I know, Ron, I've talked to you before. You had problems trying to find out who's put it in, how to get, but it's a charging system which is now broken from what I can understand. But it was free for the people. There was no charging for that. And it has continued on for a couple of years. And to me, the city is supplying electricity for that charging system. And it's not being paid for. So yeah, definitely as far as charging systems goes, I would like to see that either removed or add another one there and start charging people for using that service. It's just something that is needed in downtown. Like what you were saying, the ones that were over by the gazebo have been removed. We get a lot of people at the depot and they're willing to, I'm sure they'd be willing to pay for having to charge a couple charges there. If you can work with this, with who you having done at behind Arco and say, here's a spot. You already have the electricity right there. Now it could be charged for to the public and pay for itself there. So that's another area. And since I'm here, I love this forum. I mean, without very many people, it's like, hey, this is great. We're able to talk to you guys without any restrictions, time frame, and stuff like that. One of my questions was also going to be, how well did the employee staff survey come out? I know we spent thousands of dollars for that. And I'm wondering, did the council, staff manager, did you learn from this? And how we can improve and help our city employees? And I'm not only talking about our the men and women that are out in the field, but also the ones in our office here. And, you know, was it a positive event? And were you able to learn from that? Yeah, just offhand right now, those were just a couple of the things. It was an interesting council meeting last night. I was curious when it was brought up for the annexation of Shady Glen. Will that affect the people that are living between Shady Glen and the city? Would they be incorporated into that proposal that is set up for the sewer system? And would that, by incorporating them, would that help our funding or payment for the loan of $5 million that we now have from past, unfortunately, from past councils and issues that arose from our sewer system? And then also too, I'm wondering, the spending of our money, and being the treasurer, I mean, I do see a lot of money that is being spent. It's amazing what a city has to go through and spend their money on, and the revenue that we do have. But I'm wondering if there is something that can be looked at for our sewer system loan that we are paying off that has happened years ago. I know if I continue to live here, tell you the truth, I'd be dead and I'd still have to be paying off for that loan. Have you looked into maybe getting some kind of a relief from either the state or the county for what we have done to the sewer system now that has been improved? that now we are above board, if I'm not mistaken, Ron, we're above board. And that place is functioning very well. And obviously, we're paying for somebody's mistake in the past. And I would wonder if possibly there's some way to look into this loan and how it can be forgiven. Possibly it is through the state, through representatives, but this is also something too that I'm thinking, because we are sending 2 representatives to the Capitol, our cap to cap, that our representatives can be talking to these people and say, look, it's hurting our system, our city. I'm sorry, not our system, but our city from growing. And unfortunately, I see our city is not growing. As far as I know, our population is still the same. It is a small area that we have, and anything that can help out, but this would come through, like I say, either the state, the county, maybe federal assistance that you could be looking at to help us relieve this loan and move forward. Just like when we talk about our people here in town, oh my gosh, yeah, the sewer bill, the sewer bill, the sewer bill. Okay, this is a major problem that needs to be taken care of. I think there's something to look into. I'm not privy to what you all know and what you can do about that. But even if you were able to tell our public, our citizens of, okay, hey, we're working on this. We possibly have a solution for this, and that will help our city grow. And by doing that, I think then we can have more activities. And I know the skateboard park is quite an issue that's been going on for so many years. And I just keep remembering about Mark Twain saying, you know, try, but don't be an idiot. And I'm not sure with our skateboard park, because of the financial burden that we have, that we can continue on with something like this, and that it will be beneficial to our city in the past. I'm sorry to keep on going like that.
I'm only going to let you keep going because there's just the 3 of you sitting here. So
I know.
trust me, this one's over here tapping his fingers at me to remind me about the time. I can tell.
Yeah.
But
And no,
it's
and
just because it's the 3 of us.
and I am very sorry about
That's
that,
okay.
but I guess they are. But I just also think because of your town hall meeting, this is available to everybody who is a resident and concerned with our city, just to help and maybe put in new ideas or new options that can be followed through. So I am very happy that you're doing this, that you have gotten this going. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. To answer your question on the annexation, the people in between have to be included too, because that's how they change the state laws, right? So we don't get to have islands anymore. So the people that are in between Shady Glen, whatever route they take, they are part of that map. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but that's what I recall.
We're already on one side of it, so it just basically be big.
And I understand that. And I just hope you're realizing and I'm sorry, Mike. Just that the people that will be affected that are in those housing developments that have their own sewer system, and what the cost will be to them now. But if it does profit everybody, like I say, that it will help with this loan, if there's no other way to get it down, if that will help, and if these people will be okay with that, to follow through. Because I would think that their cost for the sewer from what they have now would go up for the work on the sewer system that would have to be resolved. And I'm not saying just, right off the bat, right at the beginning, but as time goes on, the maintenance and the upkeep of our sewer plant to maintain something like that is, and I know it was kind of addressed last night a little bit. But we don't know. That is in the future, the cost in the future and what that would take. And if we could be assisted by that, that would be great. But if we can't, can our current sewer bills keep us going with the way the sewer plant is now being run and how it's being run so efficiently? So I think the people that could be annexed in need to know what that costs, along with Shady Glen also too.
So we are not alone in owing lots of money in our sewer system. Cities all over. Loan forgiveness is pretty hard to come by.
But it is possible.
Okay. Sewer money has to stay in sewer, so it doesn't matter what you save in sewer. You can't spend it on a skate park or anything else. It's an enterprise fund, does not come out of the general fund money. We are working diligently for rate stabilization in the sewer. So we're hoping not to have to raise rates anytime soon. All the money that we spent on the sewer to make the system more efficient should help us with the rate stabilization. That money was spent in place of paying fine money. So we got lucky there. So we actually did save quite a bit of money.
Right. So in that respect,
Yeah.
there is possibilities that we can work with and options.
So we're hoping that once we see the solar true up, that we don't have to raise the rates for at least one more year and hopefully for years into the future between the operational savings and the solar savings.
Do we have any comments online for public comment?
I don't have any hands raised on Zoom attendees. Thank you.
So we will then close the open public comment portion of it and move on a little bit further. So the next item on the agenda is the discussion of possible community improvement projects for 2026. Did you have something to start off with that? All right, go for it.
Little homework. Okay, for staff items, we're going to continue the cleanup of the historic district down here. So if you've noticed, there's been striping done, trash cans have been painted, general cleanups going. We're going to do things like additional striping for the parking areas, crosswalk striping, crack filling of the roads to make it present nicer to people. We're also going to start cleanup for Arbor Park because we're planning on moving the Christmas tree celebration back to the Arbor Park area. So the big tree will be trimmed up to look more like a Christmas tree. We'll have commercial lights put on that. And that way we can just close down that whole block instead of having to put a tree over on the other side. Additional items are some more downtown stuff, continue on the bench rehabilitation, if you notice, between us and what's the name of the cabinet maker?
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Wheeler's cabinet company. They came in and rehabilitated a bunch of the benches last year. They look really nice. We're going to try to stay with that theme. If you notice, when you walk into the shade structure on North Main Street, there's a bunch of funky irrigation is kind of loose and hanging down. We're going to come through and clean all that up with hard piping and to clean up the way it looks so people don't think it looks so trashy when they come. Plus, it'll help give us more water to the new outdoor seating areas to water the plants with. And then throughout the city, we've been replacing the old beat up road signs that are faded or chipped up, have graffiti all over them, those kind of things, kind of, again, clean up the perception of the city to bring more people in. And if you weren't here or for last night's meeting, staff has been working on the ballpark area, paying a lot of attention to the restrooms. So they're going to put new epoxy floors in the restrooms, paint them inside and out, and clean up some of the sinks and toilets and those kind of things, replace them if they need to. So overall, it's just, we're working on making things cleaner, neater, and improving the perception of the city as people come in.
Thank you. And that's really a lot of what we're looking for, is things that you think would provide a facelift to town, both for obviously our residents to enjoy and hopefully to help encourage that traffic to continue coming down and enjoying being down here. And I'll mention they also did do the sanded and repainted the fencing in front of the little dog park art, lot of art right there as well. And I don't remember, did we do them over at the depot, or is that still on the list?
No, we did, but we did do the tables in the public seating area as
Yeah,
well.
those
So
just
they've
got
been sanded,
sanded
re-clear coated.
and clear coated. So that's what the staff's been up to and what they have on their list for the facelift for Colfax. So since we have council items on the next one, that would mean that you guys or other council members here, if you have any ideas of projects, facelifts, improvements that you would love to see potentially done in the next year, we're going to make a list, and we'll just have this wide list between us and anything the community says, and then we'll be able to get together with them and try to prioritize them and see what we'll be able to financially make happen in the next year. So Larry, you're ready to go. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
I got my mic on. Yeah. So this is something that my wife and I have seen down in Lee Vining. And it's fairly near a museum, block away or so. And it's off the main street. And what they've done is build a small playground. And it's for, also has an area for little kids. So it's small and it's on grass. And immediately adjacent to it is you could call it a kiosk, but if you could imagine a building with only one wall and a roof that's angled appropriately for the sun, that's immediately adjacent to that playground and large enough to where we could put solar panels on the roof to generate power, and we could provide Wi-Fi. And maybe I'm dreaming, but maybe enough electricity to help with charging cars. But the idea is that people could sit under this roof on picnic tables and watch their kids play in the playground. And it's my belief that that would fit ideally right where the caboose is. And when this caboose is moved, that it would be right there. There would be a playground more or less on the corner of Grass Valley Street and Main Street. And I'm going to get Phil draw this up a layout. Anyway, that's where the playground would be, and then extending toward what used to be the old railroad building that Penny Todd owned. I don't know who owns it now, but it would butt up against that street that leads back to the parking between the building and where the caboose is. And this building would probably be about, I think I paced it off. It's about, I think that area is about 60 feet across and about 40 feet deep if you're facing it from Main Street. And that is more than enough to have a very nice small playground where people could gather. It would be open to the gazebo. They could see the trains going by. They could sit under the shade of this roof with solar panels, and there'd be picnic tables there. And inside of it, excuse me, along the wall, we could put up panels that talked about the Colfax history and walking routes and how the history of how this came about. And I believe that behind this, and I believe it's an area where people would gather. So again, I'm prematurely talking about this, but Phil, he's very good at drawing things. And also, I have a friend that's willing to pay for the playground, and he's willing, given costs, to move the caboose. And so there'd be a significant contribution there. And I believe some of the businesses in the community would be wide open to doing the paving or moving the rocks or, doing that sort of thing. So it would change that area. It would open up the corner, but at the same time, you'd be able to see all the way through to the train from Paul's Market. And it would be open to the playground. And the wall behind it would be used to advertise things to do in Colfax. And then the seating area would be paved in an area where parents could sit and watch their kids play. And I don't think it would be all that expensive for the city. There'd be infrastructure things like if we had Wi-Fi, how do we connect to it? If we generate electricity, what would we do with it? It doesn't take much electricity to power Wi-Fi. So that panel could provide lighting and et cetera. So more on that later.
Well, I'm going to comment, since you said your connection is also willing to help with the caboose movement project. Let's get him over to the next Heritage Park meeting. I think we have.
I will.
that
I've
as
invited
well.
him. He's
Because we know they need the engineering figured out still on the ground to get that rail, the rail laid. Okay.
so he's a local
Brown
business
Act rules are
person.
crazy.
So I'm going to follow up on
Okay,
that.
great. So get him over to that meeting. Perfect. Any other ideas, Larry?
I'll just stop with that one for
Okay.
now.
All right, Kim.
Okay, in general, we need to have monthly events at the Sierra Vista Community Center, inside and out. We need to get the school involved in these events. Also, I do like Jim Bauer's idea of a choo-choo train. We need something weird and wacky to get people off of I-80. The other idea I like is having rail cars like they have in Sacramento, where you can pedal, and that's always popular. Every town that has them, the rail cars are a big hit. And those are three things I'm interested in now. Your turn.
I've mentioned it before, but putting up fencing along the backside of the art park with gate on either side, that way, and having the backside fencing removable so we can get equipment in there, set up for bands and stuff like that. So that was,
So the quote on that was about almost $25,000. So I was going to bring that back during budget discussions and see which way council wanted to go.
okay. Is that for like the same black fencing that's along the front? Okay. Did we get 3 quotes?
I was the only person I could get to return my call.
Okay.
But I did actually
Good.
look and find like panels to in case we decided to try to do it in-house.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Just to add to what Sean and Kim said, Jim Bauer's choo-choo clock would provide cover for the stage, and we could wire it and power it so that it was easy to get sound in there. And covering it is nice. And I liked one of the things that Jim said is if that clock only comes out once an hour, the chances of people coming down to see it right on the hour are pretty small. They're always going to have time to kill. And I think that would cause people not only to come downtown, but they would stay downtown and wait until that train came out. Just one other thought about that. I like Jim's idea because, and even if it doesn't quite turn out like that, I think it's always good to have something iconic, something that nobody else has. And he's already arranged with the Guinness Book of World Records, which means it would be published and add more press, add more interest. So I would be in support of that also. And the costs also weren't that huge. And I got on this council about downtown. That's why I joined up. That's what I believe in. I think there's already been an effect. We're seeing more people downtown now because some of the things that are happening. And the more of that we do, the better off we are. Something that'll cause more local people to gather downtown.
if I can fine tune a question for each of you. You gave us lots of big projects, which have I like lots of them. So if we said if there was a project or a facelift item under $10,000, what would you pick? Because all of these are well over that price. So something that will easily fit into a budget. So I just randomly picked $10,000. If you had $10,000 to provide some facelift stuff to the community, what would you start with, Larry?
I think that we don't have any seating capability on South Main Street. I think that we could do something there that would be inexpensive. And I don't think either the Jim Bowers choo-choo clock or what I proposed would necessarily cost all that much money. I think there would be a lot of support for them, but I think I wouldn't want to start thinking about costs very much until we decide what we'd like to do and then put a cost on it and then determine if we can do it. So I have no idea how much things cost. I only know they cost a whole lot more than what we think they will. But anything we can do towards the infrastructure of that Railroad Heritage Park, anything, for example, making sure that the ground is solid underneath where that short stretch of tracks would be and clear of all the utilities that are running under there. Some more tracks, because I believe that the narrow gauge people in Nevada County are willing to give us a narrow gauge car that could also double as a stage. So I see endless possibilities, but that's the ones that I don't think would cost that much money.
Thank you. All right, Kim?
Something new or one that we've already mentioned?
No,
Just anything.
it can be anything, but I'm really looking for more. I like the big projects too, but smaller things that we can get done faster. Obviously, something that's going to require engineering and things that is going to take us a lot more time and a lot more deliberation. But if we have some more smaller projects that we can build upon.
Okay.
So that's why I just randomly picked 10,000.
7 years ago, I drove to San Jose and I could have purchased a portable merry-go-round for $10K. So that's what I'm picking. You're-
Some vegetation maintenance and cleaning up or redoing all the little planters and corner pieces and stuff by the buildings and the corners. Along Main Street here, yeah. Yeah. Kind of redesign them, do a little bit of digging the stuff out, so it's not just some random rocks and plants, Yeah.
Right, so,
Working with the garden club to do that.
yeah, so I need to talk to the garden club because we need to lower the height of the one over by Paul's Market, because if you're in a sidewalk and
Yep.
you're turning, you can't be seen. And then these along this and the South Main Street are ready for rehab.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Just summarize just a little bit. Our audit was awesome. And our city made money last year over our budget, a significant amount of money. And we're going to be going through the budgeting process pretty soon. And I think that would be a good time to address some of the things that our guests mentioned and that we mentioned. I think we do have some money to spend, and I'm the last thing from a spendthrift. But I think of these things as investments, not expenses. So I hope that when we go through our budgeting, that we include some of them, because I forget the exact amount, but I'll just call it a profit, but cities aren't supposed to make profits, right? Income over expenses, the difference was quite large. Do you remember offhand what it was, Ron?
Yeah, I don't remember off the top.
I mean, it was a significant number.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's $1 million, And I think we can do things like, let's say every year for a few years, put $100,000 aside for street maintenance. And when we accumulate enough money to actually do something, do some street work. But I think we do have some money to spend.
Yeah, we'll be talking about which way council wants to spend money when we do the budget workshops, which will start shortly after the mid-year budget and are almost ready to present that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, at that point, I want to open it up to the public for them to offer their suggestions, both in small facelift, slap some lipstick on her type ideas. And also if you do have bigger projects, we can put them in the list. So you can go up there or we can pull out the microphone. All right, go for it, Nick.
Two suggestions. I'm not much of a drinker anymore, but downtown needs a bar. It needs a place. When I have my friends come from other countries and stay in the Airbnb right here, need a place for them to walk to, go have a good time with the locals and be able to walk back home. Main Street's all right, but some people want something a little harder, when they're out and about. The other thing I think needs to happen is something with the theater. I mean, when we owned it, we did a Star Wars movie and we sold out and locals came dressed in figures of the movie, and we had a great old time. I don't know what's going on with the theater, if they are just being stagnant or.
The theater's for sale.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, it's right on the marquee now.
Yeah.
It's been for sale for about 6-8
Can the
months.
city buy it? No, I mean, it's only just a little chunkier profit. But I mean, I would work with the owners and, just maybe do something once a month, cause it's ready to roll the way we left it. And, it's got the whole sound system. This movie was working great, and, I think something here, something downtown bar like would really liven it up from this time on, cause there's nothing right now, I'm glad we got the little ice cream shop. That's great, but I think the bigger picture is need to find out how we can go about getting a bar and some in that theater.
Well, if I can ask you a question, Nick.
Mhm.
While both of those are fantastic ideas, they're not ones that we, of course, can directly impact because that's a business owner decision. What do you see that the city could do to attempt to attract a business owner willing to do that?
Is there something wrong with I heard that maybe there's not enough liquor licenses, like the one that was there went down to McGuire's?
Yeah, that's always an issue because the state controls how many ABC controls how many licenses are available. So somebody would have to close down for them to purchase a new one or to be able to put one up
No
there. So
way to get
that's,
another one.
and they're not cheap. Yeah, but they don't add to them as a general rule. So that one is definitely out of our control. So we really are looking for things that are with things that we can directly control. And of course,
Maybe-
facelifting town might help investors.
My dad always thought about a vape lounge. It would be cannabis and it would have a membership dollar or something, and it would be a place where people can come try the cannabis that's grown locally, of course, because I think the best cannabis is grown right here in Northern California. You go up too high and the sun burns off some of the crystals and makes it useless. You go down to Sacramento, the smog doesn't grow good. But Northern California, this area, Nevada County, they grow some of the finest, and it would be like something you could come and enjoy. Since it's recreational now, even it would be more of it'd be easier to get people in there, when we were just medical is people were afraid to come there because they thought you couldn't have a gun with your medical card, and we've gotten past that now, and we're seeing an increase of people I've known for 20 years, coming into our store, and I'm sure if we maybe introduced something like that, it could be something else to do downtown.
Is there any way to add to your space that you have now to develop something like that?
I don't think we would want to do it in our space. It would be in the bar downtown, the old, I would want to do it in one of these buildings. That way it's part of Colfax, we don't want somebody coming to our store and going and smoking it over there, it would have to be two separate entities, I would think would be best.
Yeah, I have no idea how that works.
We'll show you, no. But it's just something to think about. Mhm.
Just a quick response to that. I don't. There was a town I walked through in northern Wisconsin that had a municipal bar, and you could not get in the door of that place. Everybody was there trying to do something for the community, I think. But I doubt California liquor laws would allow that. And I'm not even suggesting it, but it worked.
Tim, we're ready. Share your ideas.
So a couple of years ago, and I believe we spent $60,000 on a redevelopment plan for downtown. And I'm wondering what you are talking about, or if you're reviewing that plan to help downtown. Larry, you're talking about where the gazebo is. I believe in that plan, it was a designated area after the caboose has been moved to redevelop that area in a seating area. And I'm just wondering if you've been looking at that redevelopment plan that was proposed. And like I said, I do believe we spent $60,000 on that to get that done. Along with that, Larry, you were talking about our surplus of money. I guess I feel that it might be better well spent than on material things, but spent for our employees that I've been noticed since I've been here. Unfortunately, our town is like a stepping stone for our employees. They will start here. They will get their sewer licenses. They will get other certifications, and then they move on to PCWA, Rockland, Roseville. I'm just wondering that if we can not match, but maybe even increase our salaries for our employees that are working here, that we can keep them here longer, and that it will keep our city improving instead of being a stepping stone for these other cities. Thanks.
Well, just for the record, we did come through last year and raised all the salaries up in above what the CIP rate was. So we are working on that as we can.
I think that the surplus, I'm not advocating even that we spend it all. I just mean that it's great timing for us to go into a budgeting process because there are a lot of reasonable ways to spend that money. And far be it from me to be an expert on where we should spend it. We can figure that out among the five of us.
It is a balance. You have to balance it out. But I think, I'm sorry, I'm not using mine, but I think it would definitely help our employees, our staff.
Actually, Nell, can you give Tim a microphone? Because I have a question for him that just crossed my mind. I'm not debating. I asked the question for him. Tim, because you work over at the visitor center, I kind of think you have a unique vision of things because you talk to so many people that are coming through town. And I'm wondering if there's anything that stands out in your mind that has been commented on either from people that have come through regularly of changes they see, or just your general travelers of things that they think would be nice to have down here, or things they've asked for and you've had to say that we don't have.
It's very interesting that you asked that. And the majority of the people that we get through Amtrak, the trains, people wait for the trains. At the museum, at the visitor center, how positive they talk about this town. It is very positive. It's more than negative. And what we try to instill talking to these people is, yes, we realize we are trying to keep more of the businesses, the ones that are not open, to open. And it's also, we stress how we try to build some revenue with the city. But to answer your question, it's always been very positive. People like it. People like where we are, that we can recommend the other businesses that are here in town. Obviously, Paul's Market is just excellent. And people will come on the bus and they'll go, hey, I don't see what you have here for snacks or whatever. Oh, run on over to Paul's Market. You can get there and back on the train. So, no, it is very positive in that respect of the comments that we get from the people coming through.
Thank you. It's always good to hear. All right. Do you have any other ideas you'd like to share with us? Okay. All right. I will bring it back, council, then, unless you have anybody that pops up online for you now. If you guys have any other thoughts that have crossed your mind of potential projects that you might want to see, since sometimes this gets the juices flowing, and then we'll wrap it up after we go through this again.
I just have some thoughts to respond to Tim. Part of what was drawn up for I don't know if we call it a revitalization or redevelopment or whatever we call the downtown. One of them was to clean up the intersection that's at the bottom end of Depot Street and Main Street and 174 and all that, and make it a roundabout, not a full-fledged roundabout, but a way where the people going north on Main can drive straight through onto 174, and they can enter this roundabout. They can get off to the right in the parking lot. They can go left ultimately and up Depot Street and then back down. I think that would be an excellent idea for that part of the town. And the street's wider than it needs to be, which means that we wouldn't lose any parking and we might even gain parking. Because if you realize that there's parking spots alongside that old railroad building, and then there's a gap, and the further up the street you go, the wider it is, and it's of no use. Where if we move that street over, now all of a sudden it becomes an area outside the seating areas that we have, so the parking could be removed and further over. I like that idea. And then there was another idea that somebody else expressed years ago. We have that small park right opposite the street from the library. And they suggested that we cut off part of the park on the railroad side such that that can be a two-way street, and then enlarge the park on the side toward the library, because there wouldn't be a need for a street there anymore. And it would allow, I think, a better flow of traffic. It would be narrow enough so where people really couldn't speed. And I think it would work really well. I could see a little seating area outside the library and maybe some shelter so people could get in the shade. But essentially, instead of having two one-way streets, have one two-way street on the side of the railroad and extend the park toward the library on the other side and get rid of that street. We don't need it. So anyway, those are my other thoughts, and they were partly addressed, I think, when we did the downtown revitalization study. I believe those both were mentioned. Anyway, that's future, that's expensive, but if we ever get street improvement money, I'd like to see some of it get spent downtown and doing things like that.
Thank you.
So thank you, Tim.
All right, Larry, or I'm sorry, Kim, did you come up with any other ideas?
No,
You're good? Sean? Good? All right. Then we're good. Ron and I took notes and we will be able to compile these back and give them to the council. And hopefully with this and our budget talks, maybe we can find a couple of them that we will put together. I thank you guys very much for coming. Hopefully it's something that we can build on this and get more people to attend. And I believe actually, that was the other thing we were supposed to discuss was our next agenda items, because we will do this next in April. Would be the next one. And Ron, I believe you had a suggestion for a topic. Was that okay. We'll discuss that as we get closer. I will ask, are there any subjects that you guys might like to see as a potential topic? I'll ask council and then the public as well, so we can note those down.
I'd like to think about that. I mean, there are hundreds, and what if we call this town hall the meeting of dreams? We think if we build it, they will come, you know? And I'm only half kidding.
Do you have any subject matters that you think might be a good, Kim, to open up to the public? No? Okay, Sean? No. All right. Does anybody have any requested topics for a future meeting that we can consider? All right, I'll take it. Thank you very much for your time. We are done at 7:02. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.